The alarm inside the command center isn't just loud. It's screaming at a frequency Zordon has never used before. On the viewing globe, the water in Angel Grove Harbor isn't just displacing, it's boiling. This isn't one of Rita Repulsa's clay sculptures grown large. This is an apex predator, a walking extinction event weighing 99,000 tons. The Rangers have exactly 5 minutes to intercept before the background radiation alone turns the city into a ghost town. Today, we aren't just watching a fight. We're testing if the pseudo-magic of the Morphin Grid can survive the hard physics of the Monsterverse. Chapter 1: The Ground War and Radiation. The Rangers deploy on foot and in their individual Dinozords to intercept the threat at the coastline. In a standard episode, they'd run up, do a pose, and fire their blade blasters. But here, the first enemy isn't a claw or a tail. It's invisible. Monsterverse Godzilla is essentially a biological nuclear reactor with a leaky containment unit. The air around him glows blue due to Cherenkov radiation. High-energy particles moving faster than light through the medium of air. We need to talk about shielding. The Rangers wear spandex suits reinforced by the Morphin Grid. While that might stop a spark-throwing putty patroller, we're talking about acute ionizing radiation. We're estimating a dose rate exceeding 20 sieverts per hour near his skin. For context, 4 to 5 sieverts is a lethal dose for 50% of humans. The gamma waves pass right through the visors. Within 30 seconds, the Rangers are vomiting inside their helmets. Their skin is burning as if they're standing in a fire. But the heat is coming from inside their own cells. But let's be generous. Let's say the Morphin Grid acts as a perfect Faraday cage against radiation. They still have to deal with the ground itself. Godzilla takes a step. That's 99,000 tons of mass shifting. When that foot lands, it generates a localized seismic event. We're looking at ground liquefaction. The pressure waves force water up through the soil, causing it to lose stiffness and behave like a liquid. The Triceratops and saber-toothed tiger Dinozords, which rely on traction, would instantly sink into the mud, their mechanical joints grinding to a halt as the earth swallows them. Jason tries to close the distance with the Tyrannosaurus, but physics is a cruel mistress. The T-Rex Zord weighs maybe 80 tons. Godzilla weighs 99,000 tons. That's a mass difference of over 1,000 to 1. If Jason runs the T-Rex into Godzilla's shin, it would be like a bicycle ramming into a freight train. The T-Rex would crumple instantly. The deceleration G-force would turn Jason into jelly inside the cockpit. The Rangers fire their power weapons. The power axe, the power bow. Against a creature with skin thick enough to tank modern artillery, these are statistically insignificant. It's like throwing a toothpick at a battleship. The kinetic energy transfer from their handheld weapons wouldn't even register on Godzilla's nervous system. Then there's the sound. When Godzilla roars, the decibel level is estimated at 174 decibels. That's enough to rupture eardrums and cause internal organ damage instantly. The Rangers on the ground, even with helmets, would be disoriented, their equilibrium shattered. They can't fight if they can't stand up. This brings us to our first assessment. The ground game is a complete failure. The radiation cooks the pilots in their seats. The seismic activity buries the heavy armor. And the infantry is blown away by simple air displacement. Survival tier F. The team succumbs to acute radiation sickness or is crushed by debris before landing a single hit. The city is leveled, and the rescue crews find nothing but Geiger counters clicking in the silence. Realizing that a ground assault is nothing short of suicide, the team has one option left. They have to get off the ground, and they need to bring the heavy metal. Chapter 2: The Physics of the Brawl. The ground war is lost. So, the Rangers escalate. You know the sequence. The pterodactyl folds into the chest, the T-Rex becomes the hips and torso, the mastodon forms the arms. Suddenly, a 41-meter-tall colossus stands between the city and the alpha predator, the Megazord. It looks impressive. It looks like an equal match. But when we run the numbers, the math tells a horrifying story. Let's talk about density. According to official Saban lore, the Dino Megazord weighs approximately 570 tons. That sounds massive until you look at the other side of the ring. The legendary Godzilla tips the scale at 99,600 tons. Do the division. That is a mass disparity of 174 to 1. To put that in perspective, this isn't a heavyweight boxing match. This is a full-grown 200-pound man fighting a creature that weighs 1.1 pounds. The Megazord is effectively fighting a hamster, or more accurately, the Megazord is the hamster. This brings us to the square cube law and the conservation of momentum. When the Rangers pilot the Megazord forward to deliver a haymaker punch, they are generating force. Force equals mass times acceleration. But because their mass is so negligible compared to Godzilla, the impact is laughable. The Megazord lands a solid right hook on Godzilla's snout. In the show, sparks fly and the monster staggers. In reality, it'd be like throwing an empty soda can at a charging rhinoceros. Godzilla wouldn't even blink. His inertia is simply too great to overcome with such low mass. So, the Rangers try a grapple. They attempt to lock arms and hold the line to protect a city block. This is where structural engineering fails. Godzilla doesn't even need to strike, he just needs to lean. The moment he shifts his weight, the Megazord's servos and hydraulic systems, or whatever magical actuators Alpha 5 installed, are subjected to stress loads exceeding their tensile strength by thousands of %. The knee joints would shear instantly, the titanium alloy torso would buckle like tinfoil. The Zord isn't just pushed back, it's mechanically crumpled under the sheer gravitational pressure of the kaiju. But the real killer isn't a crush, it's the whip. Godzilla spins. His tail, a massive counterweight of muscle and bone, slams into the Megazord's midsection. We can estimate the tail tip is moving near the speed of sound. The collision is elastic, but the Megazord is so light relative to the tail, it doesn't absorb the blow. It gets launched. Now, we have to talk about the pilots. Inside that chest cockpit, the Rangers are subjected to the third collision rule of trauma. First, the Zord is hit. Second, the Zord hits the ground 3 miles away. Third, the Rangers hit the inside of their consoles. Even with helmets, the G-forces transferred effectively liquefy their internal organs. We're talking about instantaneous acceleration from 0 to 600 miles per hour, then a dead stop. The human aorta tears at roughly 50 Gs. This impact delivers well over 200. The morphin grid might keep the suit intact, but inside the spandex, the Rangers are essentially soup. The Megazord lies in ruins, a twisted heap of alien metal embedded in a skyscraper. The pilots are dead on impact. Godzilla steps over the wreckage without even realizing he was in a fight. The city is completely undefended against the subsequent rampage. Survival tier D. The structural failure is catastrophic. The pilots survive only if they have an impossible reaction time to eject before the initial impact. But even then, the shock wave likely kills them. The city is flattened by the falling machine. Physical force has failed. If kinetic energy can't move the king, the Rangers have to try burning him. Chapter 3. Plasma versus the grid. Kinetic energy failed. The Megazord is too light to wrestle a god, and the pilots know it. So, the Rangers switch tactics. They stop trying to be wrestlers and start trying to be artillery. They summon the Power Sword. In the show, this is the absolute end of the fight. The sword descends from the sky, energizes with red lightning, and the team shouts a synchronized command to launch a wave of energy that obliterates the monster. They are betting everything on the idea that their energy output is higher than his. But Godzilla isn't waiting for the stock footage to finish. His dorsal plates light up, creating that ominous hum that vibrates in your chest. He inhales. He unleashes the atomic breath. We need to quantify exactly what hits the Megazord. This isn't just fire. It is a focused stream of superheated plasma and Cherenkov radiation. Based on the Godzilla vs. Kong feat, where he drilled a hole straight to the center of the hollow Earth, we can estimate the energy output. To vaporize that much rock that quickly, the beam's temperature must exceed 500,000 degrees Celsius. For reference, the surface of the sun sits at around 5,500 degrees. The melting point of titanium is roughly 1,600 degrees. Even if the Zord is made of some unknown extraterrestrial alloy, nothing in known physics remains solid at 500,000 degrees. The power sword slashes downward, projecting its energy wave to intercept the attack. The two beams collide. In anime and tokusatsu shows, this results in a beam struggle, a tug-of-war where the stronger will pushes the laser back. Physics tell a different story. These are high-pressure fluid streams. When they meet, they don't push, they splash. The collision point becomes a chaotic bloom of expanding energy. The air between the Zord and the kaiju superheats instantly. It expands faster than the speed of sound, creating a continuous, deafening thunderclap that shatters every window in Angel Grove. The Power Sword's energy projection might deflect the core of the plasma stream for a fraction of a second, acting like a riot shield against a fire hose, but it cannot stop the heat. Radiant heat travels at the speed of light. Before the plasma even touches the metal, the thermal radiation cooks the Zord. The paint vaporizes. The sensors blind instantly. Inside the cockpit, the temperature spikes from 70 degrees to 300 degrees in the blink of an eye. The Morphin Grid's personal shielding is the only reason the pilots don't spontaneously combust, but their consoles are melting over their hands. The Power Sword shatters under the thermal stress. The atomic breath punches through the Zord's guard. The machine doesn't explode cinematically, it slags. The legs give out as the metal loses its structural integrity, turning into a molten slurry. The Megazord collapses into the boiling harbor. However, this thermal clash brought them exactly 4 seconds. The blinding light and the steam explosion obscure Godzilla's vision. The Zord's catastrophic failure acts as a decoy. The Rangers trigger the emergency ejection sequence. The cockpit pod shoots away from the melting torso, splashing into the bay miles away from the heat source. They are alive, but they are watching their ultimate weapon dissolve into a glowing puddle. Survival tier C. The Megazord is a total write-off. The city blocks surrounding the harbor are uninhabitable due to radiation and thermal damage, but the team has survived. They traded their technology for their lives. Problem is, Godzilla is still standing. He steps over the molten wreckage, barely annoyed. The Rangers are floating in the bay with no Zords, no weapons, and no plan. They need an escalation that goes beyond standard issue. They need the one asset that was built to rival a god. Chapter 4. The Ultrazord Solution. The communicators crackle with a sound that saves the day. A synthesized trumpet blast. From the boiling depths of the ocean rises the Dragon Zord, and plowing through the debris of the district is Titanus. This is the escalation the team needed. They combine the faltering Megazord with the Dragon Zord and the carrier to form the Ultrazord. This machine changes the physics of the engagement entirely. The Ultrazord isn't a melee fighter designed for grappling. It is a mobile artillery fortress. When the team initiates the final fire sequence, they are unleashing a simultaneous bombardment of every energy weapon system in the Morphin Grid's arsenal. To understand the scale, we have to look at the energy yield. Based on the visual destruction seen in the series, explosions that are often seen from the stratosphere, we can estimate the total yield of a full Ultrazord salvo to be in the double-digit megaton range. This brings us to the critical scientific hurdle, the Castle Bravo problem. We know from the Monarch files that legendary Godzilla survived the Castle Bravo hydrogen bomb test in 1954. That was a 15 megaton detonation hitting him at point-blank range. He didn't just survive it, he fed on it. His biology is evolved to consume radiation, so logically, firing high-yield energy beams at a creature that eats nuclear fire seems like trying to extinguish a forest fire with gasoline. You aren't hurting him, you're serving him dinner. However, thermodynamics applies even to gods. Godzilla's G cells are the most efficient biological capacitors in fiction, capable of metabolizing radiation instantly. But every capacitor has a maximum charge rate. If you pour energy into a system faster than it can be chemically stored, the system overloads. The Ultrazord strategy isn't to pierce his hide, it's to overfeed the reactor. The volley impacts. The flash is brighter than the sun. We aren't looking for penetration anymore. We are relying on pure kinetic and thermal pressure. The sheer mass of the incoming missiles, combined with the photon pressure of the heavy lasers, exerts terajoules of force against Godzilla's chest. For the first time in the fight, the king takes a step back. Then another. The ground beneath his feet gives way not from his weight, but from the force pushing him backward. Godzilla's regeneration factor, his ability to heal almost instantly, is rendered irrelevant because the damage isn't structural, it's systemic. He's being force-fed more energy than he can swallow. His dorsal plates flash erratically, glowing violet as his body tries to vent the excess plasma before he melts from the inside out. He is overheating. The apex predator does a quick cost-benefit analysis. The calorie expenditure required to destroy this floating tank is too high, and the radiation meal is being served too hot to keep down. He roars, not in defeat, but in annoyance. He turns back toward the ocean, his massive tail sweeping away one last city block as a parting gift. The Ultrazord holds its fire as the massive dorsal fins slide beneath the waves. The city is irradiated. Half the infrastructure's rubble, and the Zords are critically damaged. But the monster is gone. Survival tier A. The Rangers cannot kill him. Physics dictates that a creature of this mass and durability is essentially a force of nature, and you cannot kill a hurricane. But they can't annoy him enough to make him leave. The city is saved, albeit glowing in the dark. The smoke clears over Angel Grove. The Ultrazord stands silent amongst the ruins, its sensors tracking a massive heat signature fading into the Pacific depths. The maths is undeniable. When facing a Category 6 kaiju, you do not aim for victory. You aim for survival. The Power Rangers defended the Earth today, but only by the skin of their teeth. If you want to see us run the numbers on the Dragonzord taking on King Kong next, hit that like button and subscribe for more battle breakdowns.